What happened?
Wow.
Our Sunday morning was fun.
I tell you what, the grin that Elliott and I had from ear to ear, seeing the sudden reception of episode 14, thanks to our wonderful, wonderful commenter. I'm gonna put their name on in the video
Nice.
to out of respect, because blown away by the absolute wonderful nature of them shouting us out on a playlist. So you lovely lot can come and watch us talk about random stuff.
Yeah.
And clearly take a lot of interest, which is so lovely. I mean, at the views and the subscribers, we've done this just to get our voice out there, give it a go.
Yeah.
So the fact that a lot of people have watched us, we're just blown away. I mean, like, I will always do this, even if I have one viewer and one loyal subscriber. I say that, like, you'd be the same as well. I guarantee it. We always do it just for even one person coming along to watch a video. So that now the fact that we're in the 3-digit count, it's just phenomenal. We will always be creating content now.
I don't think we've got a choice now. We're trapped.
I'm always going to be creating content. There will be plenty of me time to come. Fear not. We have planned a lot of content until early September, and there will definitely be plans beyond that as well. So thank you from myself and Elliot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
to subscribers, new and old. Stay tuned. We love you very sincerely. Thank you for watching. Continue to support, like, love, do whatever you want. Watch, don't watch, be there, don't be there. We love you nonetheless. The fact that you've come along to watch us and subscribe to us, it just means the world. Yeah? 2 men in this vast world of unknowingness are really happy because of you. So thank you very, very much. So cheers. Cheers, Elliot.
Weird, dude.
That's going to sound so cool on the microphone. We're not getting drunk. Absolutely not. Don't worry.
I've got a dry, goddammit.
We'll save that for the Lost Omens video. So, without further ado, sorry, I just needed to put my mascara on. It was running after the tears. Okay. So, we're continuing our agenda of cinema today. And today, the title of this episode is along the lines of solos and successors and sequels. We will be discussing some movies that we really like as a solo entry, and also, more importantly, pardon?
Even when they're not.
Yeah, exactly. More importantly, today we want to talk about when a continuation to a story works, therefore a sequel or a spiritual successor or a successor to the film, like a spin-off or that and the other, works, or when it doesn't. So the good, the bad, and the ugly today of sequels and successors. So let's dive in. Let's start. Why don't we start with something that I mean, I'd like to jump in and say a sequel that is, in my eyes, quite critically acclaimed and quite a strong sequel that really works for me on a lot of levels. Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
So you had the first movie come out as a successor, as a spin-off of the Shrek movies. They took a character that everyone loved and they tried to make a origin story for him as well. It wasn't received fantastically. It was, in my eyes, it was still quite a good film. It was quite average. Puss in Boots was still the same character. They made him an outlaw, you had characters that he knew. You had what was it, Kitty Softpaws, Humpty
Yeah.
Dumpty as well. Characters that would betray him, and he'd fall in love, and then he'd get feelings for them and cast them aside. Just be this brooding anti-hero that learns that he has family he needs to look after. But in terms of a solo film for a character from a cast, it was still quite strong, I found. Antonio Banderas voicing him as a parody of Zorro, no less.
Spy Kids.
Oh yes, it's Spy Kids. Which is good. And the villains in that film, I believe, maybe it might be a hot take, were quite forgettable. You've got Humpty Dumpty being the character that's the plot twist villain, and then a couple of scenes later he changes his mind and decides to become good again. Then you've got Jack and Jill that were just there as plot devices, just stone cold villains that don't really do anything except be antagonists. So it just tells a story and the origins quite well. So a sequel to this movie, in my eyes, was not needed because the origin of Puss in Boots was done.
Yeah.
We know who he is and the character he becomes to therefore go off into the future Shrek films. And when I heard that a sequel was in production a couple of years after, I believe it was originally called 9 Lives and 40 Thieves.
Oh, really?
I believe it was called that. It was in production.
Yeah.
And from my research, again, commenters correct me if I'm wrong, directors stepped down, script writers stepped down because they didn't like the way that the production was going. And unfortunately, Antonio Banderas had health issues as well.
I know.
So it was in production hell for a very long time. The sequel was looking it was like it wasn't going to happen. And then I remember sitting down one day after a couple of years went by, several years went by actually, and then out of nowhere, I saw no updates for this at all online. The trailer for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish came out on YouTube.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is coming out. Okay.
I was just like, whoa, there's a sequel to this film. Yeah. And immediately I got concerned. The animation style looked fantastic.
Yeah.
But then I was like, why is it called The Last Wish? I don't understand. They're turning Puss in Boots into something really fantasy related, even though it is all fairy tales and magical gimmicks and that sort of stuff. Like, I don't know how I feel about this Puss in Boots having an unnecessary sequel. He's already told his story. Why would his origin story need a successor, need a continuation? So I ignored it. I watched the trailers, didn't think much of the characters. Like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, meh. This random wolf guy, my favourite character. Yeah. Who is he? You got this other guy, Jack Horner. I just thought, oh, this is going to be such a meh film. I went to go see it with my good friend Leon, who I hope is listening and watching because I've just name dropped you. Good luck, Leon. We absolutely bloody loved it. I was blown away by its storytelling. Not only did it try and do a fresh take of a classic character, but they made Puss in Boots struggle in a brand new way.
Now, I haven't seen it because I don't know if I do want to see it. I just haven't seen it yet. But I know the context of it is just clever.
Very clever.
Yeah.
This is not a spoiler because it is in the trailer. As a cat, which is very clever, very, very clever for a story, he had 9 lives. He's been reckless. He's Mr. Bravado hero saving the day and wasting lives, thinking he is immortal because he's got so many lives to spare and no consequence will ever affect him. He's expended 8 of them and now he's on his last life. And he's like, oh, it's all right, it's fine. And then he, as a better term, has a very close shave with his ultimate demise, the last life getting extinguished, and it was very quick. And for the rest of the movie, my favourite part of the storytelling was the sheer focus on panic attacks.
No, interesting.
The simulation of Puss in Boots panicking and running, and you're almost frustrated for him that every time a certain thing or the reminder of him almost being unalived comes up in the movie, you expect the hero to be just like, I will face you, and in battle I relish the challenge, you know? Every time it happens, he freaks out.
Yeah, no.
Like, it's his, like, Superman's kryptonite.
That seems accurate. Yeah.
It's brilliant. And my favourite scene is a comedy character being a dog that pretends he's a cat. He's been through a lot of trauma that he rubs off in the really humorous scenes. I remember, what was it? It was, let's play my favourite game that I always used to play as a kid with my family. Oh yeah, what was that? Hide and seek, where they stuff me into a sock full of rocks and they throw me into a lake. No one will ever find me there. And they rub it off as a joke. And Puss in Boots and Kitty Galore, like, as he's saying the story, and I'm like, this is a kids' movie, and he's just casually talking about abuse like it's normal.
Yeah. What production is it? Is it Pixar?
And it's DreamWorks.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Damn, that's unusual.
You watch the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
There was also swearing and cussing, so much swearing and cussing that was bleeped in it as well. It was really funny. They were just it is their boldest movie. The animation style's gorgeous as well. But then it gets to the scene where halfway through the movie, where they're closer to their goal. I don't want to spoil it, but it is very much related to this last wish. All of these characters want to wish for something, and Puss in Boots is motivated to wish for extra lives, so he will avoid his eventual demise. Something happens that really triggers his PTSD and sets him into overdrive. A very important fight happens where they have a map to find out where they need to go, and he just drops it. He has it in his hands, he drops it, and he runs away. And there is a scene where he's up against a tree, and he's and he's literally, he's done that, and he's just holding his heart, he's looking up, he's panting. The comedy character dog comes along, goes, Pussy, you alright? You alright? Doesn't talk to him, just rests his chin on his stomach, and just stays there. Stays there until the panic attack passes. I thought, if this is not one of the most relevant instructions and useful information on how to deal with a panic attack.
Yeah, no, I mean,
in a kids animated film about DreamWorks characters going like, ooh, ooh, I'm invincible, like this sort of stuff, and then that happens. I'm like, wow, that was genius. The fact that they took that long to then take this character that we all know and love and said, like, he's the strong guy, anti-hero, we know his origin, he doesn't need a sequel, when the sequel turn around and go like, no, he does, because even strong characters like this, if you throw him into a scenario without the familiar cast by himself, struggle is real, and it can be overcome with the people around you if you change and you evolve. Hence the sequel. A sequel is changing, a story evolving, the characters change and evolve as well. Brand new setting, same character, but different challenges. Yeah. And it really, really worked for me. And it is my favourite sequel, I believe. I say that very strongly. There could be a sequel that you mentioned. I go, oh no! I really meant that's my favourite sequel. But it is. It really is. The soundtrack, the gorgeous choreography of the fight scenes as well, and the storytelling. Every single character in that movie was important, which is something I believe so greatly in. When you introduce new characters, they're introduced for a reason. They've got to be integral to a story and not just be there for haha funny, you know, which is unfortunately where a lot of sequels head because they're trying to make money. I don't know. Sorry, I've been talking for a while. I want you to jump in now.
No, I mean, without a shout, yeah, sequels do go for money. There's one example that I'll go for in a minute, but for another successful sequel, maybe I want to go to sort of straight to like the obvious sort of thing that in my mind is sort of the old John Wick franchise. Like John Wick 1 was solid. John Wick 2 was awesome. In fact, it expanded the already lore that was always sort of teased at the first in the first film.
I remember when you introduced it to me as well. Sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
But Elliott was the man that introduced me to the John Wick series. It was one really cold winter day. I went around his house just for a couple drinks and a couple snacks to eat. And you got out this DVD, John Wick, and I've never heard of it before. And you were just like, I think you guys will really like this. I think it's going to be a great, solid movie.
And it's like, yeah, this is great.
It was great. And I sat down watching it, and at that time, when I was young and I was inexperienced with the outlook of narrative, I was looking very close to the mainstream media for movies and TV shows. So when I saw that, I was just like, that looks kind of low budget and naff. I am really fed up of I was at the time. I'm really fed up of the really cold, stoic Keanu Reeves type character where he says nothing and he's just a badass. And then I watched the movie and I am so glad to put both of my hands up and say I was so wrong. It was a brilliant film.
Well, it's clever how they even write the emotion as well, because like he's not cold and stoic all the time. Like when his wife dies, like you're very much introduced in the idea that this man is broken, sort of thing. You're very much introduced just by the visual scene of that short sort of clip that you introduced by. It's like this man is broken.
Yeah.
But rather than sort of seeing it outwardly, you can see it burning in his eyes. It's so clever with like the camera work. And then the dog is unalived, and you just see him flip, and it like the way in which it's filmed, the way in which emotion is used to then drive that narrative forward in the first film is incredible.
I'll jump on and I'll say, when you have a film like John Wick, where their original vision was, we will accept if this is a solo film, but if we get the budget because of a success in the box office, excuse me, we have plans for a continuation. We've got a larger narrative and a larger universe for John Wick with all of the lore and his backstory and all of the people. The care that a solo film gets with its choreography, its cinematography, characterization, can be much more exquisite. That I believe sequels are deserved budget to get even greater choreography, even greater shots, which John Wick 2 was successful in my opinion.
It's funny, I saw an interview with Chad Stahelski in regards to like when he was looking at the first film and how he was looking at it, and he sort of said originally is like, I could leave the John Wick film as a single movie and leave it at that. But at the same time, I have got ideas for a larger narrative, but that's only if this first film stands alone, strong on its own. And if it met that threshold, then he'd make another one.
Yeah.
I will say in regards to like more sequels, all that stuff, you can see the studio starting to sort of intervene in regards to how Chad wants to sort of
and that's
produce movies, but
that's something I want to get into as well. Yeah, because you have directors. Take Matt Reeves, for example, as well, with the Batman. Yeah. The Robert Pattinson one as well. That is an example of a solo film with so much care, very clearly careful thought into it as well. I think the greatest thing about that movie is its sound design and its cinematography. The noir grey scale of all. I kind of wanted to say like Gotham by Gaslight, type shots. Yeah. my favorite all-time shot in that movie is when he's fighting the crooks, and
Oh
the
yeah,
only time that you can see him moving and smacking them and beating to the ground is by the light of gunfire,
yeah,
which is that is just really scary if you
mm,
think about it. A man only using his fists to fight back against guns. I'm like,
yeah,
that is so scary.
mm,
And that is an example of if you give the right person the right tools for an individual story, they can produce and create.
mm,
Then you've got the argument where the Batman Part 2, like, oh, we want more. Again,
yeah,
he set up this to be a larger universe. We
mm,
had the Joker
mm,
introduced at the end of the story.
yeah,
Catwoman left and Bruce is reformed. He's become Bruce. He's separated Bruce Wayne from Batman instead of like just being Batman all the time and being broody. Like, I could be saving people as Batman rather than being Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
So he had characterization. Where does that characterization go next? There is a scope for a sequel. That being said, it's been taking a while. It's been taking quite a long time, and because the DC movies are headed in a new direction, there is allegedly rumors going around if he will be directing and producing a sequel for Batman at all.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
So
It's kind of disappointing because because you can kind of see the Superman trailer coming out just recently. They're going, if they was to do a Batman v Superman now with that universe and that universe, that would
no,
not work.
again, it's,
James Gunn has put a stamp on that very much.
well, James Gunn did say that all of the DC Universe films, I say the DC Universe films, the DC films that were successful before the reboot would continue. He did say there will be a part 2 to Batman. There will be a part 2 to the Joker. See how that went as well.
Yeah.
And all of these separate films that have their own established tone being connected to something so saturated and grand scale cosmic power. I'm like, this is the studio interfering and turning something that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the Batman Part 2 is going to happen, but I refuse to believe it will be connected to it. It will say it. He did say it's his own universe.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be.
I think it
Yeah.
should be as well. But it's a question of whether or not it should continue at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely that argument where James Gunn's Batman, they finish on the second movie, and then of course they're gonna have to replace Batman in this new DC universe, and then that Batman's gonna be compared to this new one, and that's probably what they're worried about. But you kind of going, there's a narrative set for this one for now.
Yeah.
Let it play out.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna copy Marvel, which they kind of are, I mean, Superman's a bit of a misnomer in the fact they just kind of Superman plus all the characters. It's like, did you not learn from the original Marvel? In fact, like, you concentrate on one character, you build them up, then you build on some more, then you build on some more. I don't know. They just seem to rush and going, oh, we're going to put all the characters that are from the comics into one film. It's like, no.
So, yeah, I mean, take a look at the Marvel films, for example. The reason why the sequels for the original Infinity Saga worked well, in my opinion, was because we started small scale.
Yeah.
We started on only the characters that we needed to know about, the story that we needed to know about. Now, as a creative, I believe any story that has passion in it and love should have scope for continuation if you wanted to succeed.
I mean, kind of automatically it should do.
Yeah.
The viewers should kind of recognise that and kind of go, I see that person's enjoyed this. I see the person's enjoyment in this franchise, and then that would reflect out in the film.
There are scenarios, which we will discuss in a moment, that there should be just a solo outing of a story. There should be a beginning and an end. And I will stand by as a massive advocate that a story should have a definitive ending, and that is that. If you want to continue beyond the ending, the story's got to be something new.
Yeah.
Don't take the story that you just had and resurrect it to repeat the struggles again.
Yeah.
Carbon copies of the story that we once knew. It's not satisfying to see rinse, repeat. It feels as though, I'll go back to Marvel quickly, that in that day and age, we were rewarded for being patient, precise, and analytical of a story.
Yeah.
We had all of these characters in separate movies, and then we saw their own individual struggles, and the universe began to build. All of these separate stories started to connect. So when all of these loud, bright characters came together, it wasn't overwhelming.
No. I mean, you had because what they do now is with most movies is that like they stuff all the characters in one movie, but then they don't give enough respect to the origin story.
No,
So
they don't.
like because they got to rush through it within 20 minutes because they want to get to their their climax of the film sort of thing. It's like that's where kind of forgetting where Marvel's kind of like it's sort of what it is, being like it's sort of quite a bit of films. If you take away that and just see the structure for what it is, it's single movie first with a properly thought out origin story or sort of source, and then if that movie's done well, the second movie is the evolution of that character in regards to a larger struggle. Then if the movie is done well again, then it's the third one. And so forth. What was interesting about, was it 4 possibly? I think maybe 4 before the Avengers. I think 4 had only 2 movies.
There was 4 for Phase 1, and then in Phase 2 it was for the Dark World, and then Phase 3 it was for Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, 4 has been the only character that has had a movie per phase, minus Phase 5. He hasn't had any movies in Phase 5. Although it has been confirmed that Avengers Doomsday will be his final movie, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I reckon Chris Hemsworth's got Extraction 3 band. So good.
Well, I'm really thankful for the work that he's put into 4. Unfortunately, he recognised he did recognise what For Love and Thunder became. I think he was a boy with his toys that was on top of the world with how much he loved his character. He loved 4. He really enjoyed working for Taika. So they created the film and they just were mucking about and had such a great time. I don't doubt being on the set of For Love and Thunder would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
It would have been fantastic fun. But unfortunately, the production that we wanted to see 4 struggle. 4 did not struggle in that movie. Everything was a joke to him. And I don't want to get back too much into Marvel because we've already covered the Marvel agenda.
Yeah.
But that is an example of a continuation where the audience was not rewarded. And it is a sense that, yes, you want to, as a director, have your vision for a story. If you are getting that specific vision across, sometimes you really couldn't care what people think. But if you flip it just slightly, you really do want to be caring what people think, very much lesser the people that will inevitably dislike and hate your work. But if the majority turn around, even the ones that respect the product of 4 and say, not quite, that, no, you missed the point there, that's when you should be turning around and go like, right, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of directors right now and there's like movies being created again. Oh, the fans are out of touch. The fans like, I hate to say it, but they know the source material request and you've had like 6 months to try and do like a quick scan of the source material sort of thing. Like if they've got criticisms, listen to them and decide if they're valid or not.
Yeah. Well, go back to Puss in Boots and John Wick. Go back to those. Puss in Boots took ages to produce a sequel. The script, they weren't feeling it. They really weren't feeling it. And obviously, the main actor, the headliner, Antonio, went through his real life issues and his real life struggles. And they ultimately waited to get him back and to get a vision, a script, and a director that cared for the story to sit down and go, look, we need this cast to reunite, to come back together, to bring a product that I really think will work. And it, pardon me, in my opinion, it wasn't forced because there's still scope for struggle, you know? And that's such a strange thing, struggle. If you think about it on the surface level, when you analyse the word struggle, why would you want to see people struggle? But we do. We do want to see a dilemma be overcome. John Wick.
Yeah.
Where next for John Wick? He's succeeded in his goal.
Yeah.
He got his revenge.
Yeah.
He got his car back, and he avenged his dog and his wife.
Yeah.
So where next? You throw him into an impossible dilemma to get out of.
Yeah.
And go, hey, John, remember you got out, which was impossible. You got out because of me. I'm like, oh, now that deepened that aspect of John Wick 1. You were wondering, what was this impossible task that got him out? And then we didn't find out what the impossible task was, but we found out he was able to achieve it through influence and help of a higher power. And when that higher power came back and demanded, you do this job for me, or I destroy your life, and that was them, flipped on his head, and John Wick was thrown into the fire.
Well, it's so interesting. Like, he didn't even say it. Like, he did it. like he even by John not making a decision there and then on the sofa.
Yeah.
The bloke destroyed his house there, and then they're going, "Oh boy,
you're really lucky he stopped there."
Yeah.
I think the bit that shook the room for me, I didn't watch John Wick 2 in the cinema, and I'm gutted I didn't. Really gutted I didn't.
Watch the first John Wick in the cinema either. I watched the first John Wick on a plane.
Did you?
So my first John Wick experience was on a plane seat. I was like, why did I not watch this full screen? It's like, god damn it.
My first John Wick was with you. John Wick 2, I rented it on pay-per-view. And yeah, it was one of those films that I heard and saw was being advertised. I wanted to see it in the cinema. I was in college at the time. I had so much work to get done. I just couldn't afford it, and I couldn't get the time to see it. So I watched it at home, and I was kicking myself. I'm like, this would have been excellent on a cinema screen. The shots and style, and the sudden shock plot twist ending, where you think it's going to reach its conclusion, and then John gets himself in even more trouble.
Yeah.
That how do you take a character so strong like John, where he's got such his priorities in order, and further the story for him? You have it that he knows what he's doing, and he deliberately screws himself over.
The
ending
scene.
Established in the first movie,
no business.
You don't unalive someone on continental grounds.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most satisfying plot points when Miss Perkins got what was coming to her when she tried to unalive John.
Yeah.
And
that was cold.
That was good. Miss Perkins, your titles to the Continental have henceforth been revoked. What?
Yeah.
And then John does it. And you think, oh gosh, John's in trouble.
Yeah.
What happens? And then bang, the movie ends. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. They leave it mystery. They don't even tell you. What does John do next? You're going to have to find out in the next movie. Fantastic setup for a sequel.
Yeah.
You give a cliffhanger for a character you really care about, and you're really struggling to think like, oh my gosh, the whole world is about to fight John. Every bounty hunter is after this man. What on earth is going to happen? So when the trailer comes out for John Wick 3, the world went nuts.
Yeah.
I know myself and yourself are like, we're seeing this day one.
I think that's the
We
first
saw
time
it. We saw it
both
day 2 or day
seen it.
3.
Yeah.
We did see it very close to release.
Yeah.
And again, struggle.
Yeah.
John still had to struggle in that movie, and he did.
I think the third one you kind of really see like the Baba Yaga or John Wick sort of thing. Like the first film, he's a machine, just plows through people. The second film, he kind of does, but there's a bit more. But rather than sort of the action scenes holding weight, it's the choices that seem to hold weight, is which he struggles with.
Yeah.
Like, but he's not navigating just trying to fight someone and take someone off the board sort of thing. He's also navigating the world's law and what decisions would mean what consequences sort of thing.
Which, yeah.
And then the third film is the first time where the fights actually feel like, oh, John could die in this one.
My fear, and a big fear of sequels, is that you lose characterization. You lose sight of what made the original so powerful. You know, if you have an end in sight, if John Wick 4 was always planned to be the ending, which unfortunately it's not, we're getting a John Wick 5, and I honestly don't know why we're getting a John Wick 5.
I think John Wick 4, I think it's Chad sort of, from what I reading into, I don't know because I don't know Chad, but anyway, I kind of think John Wick 4 was his bookend, and I get the impression the studios they're going no. But I kind of, as much as I don't want a John Wick 5, knowing Chad's philosophy and how he builds films, even though I don't want it, I'm hopeful for it.
That's lovely. That's lovely to see faith in sequels still.
Because he won't release it unless it's got some full quality to it. That's why I'm like, it may not have as much weight as the previous films, but because of Chad's basic grounding philosophy and how he builds a film, I'm kind of going, I may not want it, but if he's going for quality, you know what, I may enjoy it. Which is unusual, because I say that in the fact that most directors don't have that, which is unique to Chad, in the fact that he's there going, no, I don't release a film unless it's decent in my mind. Others are there going, oh, it's a nice paycheck. I mean, it's fair. I mean, they've all got to live just like everybody else has got to live, but because the way in which he directs himself is different compared to other directors, is like, I may not want a John Wick 5, but I think because he's shown quality through all 3 films, which is unusual, all 4 films, which is unusual for a movie franchise to go that long and just have consistent quality all the way through. I'm not too scared compared to other times.
Oh, hello. You have reached the middle part of the episode, so that means you must like what you see. What are you laughing? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and watch the rest of the episode. Go on.
I will say I am, and it's really fresh to see your opinion of it. But I will say I am. I'm gonna be that deliberately that counter.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the characterization of John Wick became very washed over. It started to really go through the filter of sequels. If you're jumping from movie 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, unless you have specific plans for that character, then I feel as though the character has it's not guaranteed. It has a risk of degrading.
Yeah.
John Wick in number 1 and number 2, he was full of flavorful dialogue. Body language, facial expressions, the choreography was off the chain, and he was human.
Yeah.
He wasn't the indestructible Baba Yaga. He was still injured after bulletproof vests. Wounding him, which I thought was one of my favourite parts of number 1, is after his first fight scene, he's not like walking off. He is bruised, bleeding, in pain, having to heal. That's logical. And his real struggle, you really get to know the core of what sort of man John is. He is not just Baba Yaga, he is John Wick. He is a man that just wants peace. Then you come to John Wick 3, and it's a scary job to have that grand scale to get the attention of the world. And the studio, I don't. This is the fear here. The studio is just like, give the people what they want. They love the fights. They love John Wick kicking ass.
Yeah.
So just have a lot of that. It just got It just got flamboyant, in my opinion. Like far too bravado, flamboyant, over the top. The fight scenes were a lot of fun. They were, and the visions for the fight scenes were great. But it minimized John Wick's dialogue. It made him stoic.
No, I think that's a fair criticism. I can agree with that point. I mean, a lot of it was mostly centered on the fight scenes. Like, there wasn't that much dialogue. I think the only dialogue that I can only remember was him with the doctor. I can't remember where he's in the. It's like a black market doctor. He literally walks into some vets or something. And there's I need stitches or something. I need a wound something. And before the bounty comes on, he's having a conversation with the doctor, going, "Oh yeah, it's a very bad day," sort of thing.
But he did have a conversation with the elder. He had a conversation with the elder. Yeah. His conversation with Winston was the best part. When he said, if you must unalive me, put a bullet through my heart.
Yeah.
Very powerful dialogue. Winston is my favourite character because he is full of it. When people have things to say, it's great. When you take something like, I don't know, video game example, Master Chief and Doomslayer, when they don't say much and they convey this lack of humanity and to just machine badassery by the lack of humanity that they have, you're like, wow, that's cool. But John Wick isn't a machine. He got out because he wanted to be human. Him going backwards and turning back into just this nothingness with this dialogue made him in John Wick 4 a very, I'm not going to say boring, but I'm just going to say like very predictable, formulaic character that got back up after impossible odds was thrown at him. When me and you went to go and see John Wick 4, when he was thrown out of that building, hit the car, and then the very next scene, thrown down a whole flight of stairs at the Sacre-Cœur, which is very famous for the amount of steps that it has to get up, and he's still fine. That was when I was like, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah,
enough's enough.
This kind of goes.
How does one get up after that? After in the first movie, you were struggling after getting shot in the bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
If you fell out of a building onto a car, you're dead. Sorry, I'm not censoring that. You are.
Yeah.
It's, for me, you knew where the studio wanted it.
Yeah.
You knew it was fight scenes, impossible odds, Mr. Indestructible, fighting to get where he needs to be. It was like, big fight, big fight, big fight, big fight, big fight. That the scenes of dialogue in John Wick 4 felt very rushed.
Yeah.
Oh, this is brand new character in the new Continental. That John doesn't know about. John doesn't. We don't know about. John has a backstory. Oh, it doesn't matter because everyone knows that John's at the Continental now. So the High Table have come to invade. So rush scene over. That's it. Like,
yeah.
Okay. You're focusing on the bits that clearly got the story famous, and you're losing traits of what made the original so fantastic, which is the curse of sequels, of directors that care. When a studio gives you money, they give you money, but go, but
Yeah.
you do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which is why sometimes low budget things, you just like, I could kiss you.
Yeah.
Because you don't listen to any businessman with
Yeah.
waving the big moolah at
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Although I do tell you what, I'm saying that, like, all those criticisms are fair enough, but like, I do want to touch on Stick and Mr. Nobody. Two kind
Okay.
of, they were decent. Like, it was interesting. I always felt like they kind of replaced John Wick's story. Like, John Wick was just the fighter mostly, and then I almost feel like Stick and Mr. Nobody became sort of the storytelling for that movie, I guess. Like how they came to be, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, you're fair on like the not much story in regards to what John was doing.
I mean, look, this is coming from someone who is a sucker for a story.
Yeah.
And I think that is I think it's not the greatest. I will change that. In my opinion, it is the greatest. But if you think about it on a very general perspective, it is only one of the greatest things that makes a cinema a very immersive experience when you get lost in a story and you want to see how it ends. The other things is the big budget that a cinema can do to take you away from it. The sound design, the set design, the shot design as well. So the fights is a big part of that as well.
Set design is such a massive thing. No, that's a good thing.
I will say, John Wick 4 did blow me away with its set design.
Oh yeah. Although I am going to touch on the sequel that didn't do set design very well.
What do you mean?
And that's Gladiator
2. The microphone is yours.
Yeah, no.
Now we're going to talk about some sequels that we didn't like.
Yeah, no. Well, it's more. So I want to compare between the original Gladiator and Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 1.
Hallelujah. To us, I can't remember the main character's name in Gladiator 2, but I just remember Maximus's. When you're introduced to Russell Crowe's Maximus in the first Gladiator, like, he's stoic and he's also gentle. But he's capable as well, which is, you don't see that very often in most characters. It's very much, I'm stronger than an arsehole.
Yeah.
It's funny. There's such a, which I almost think that Gladiator 2 kind of falls into. He's strong and an arsehole. But it's interesting. You find it in older films where, like, strong characters are actually built up really well. So Maximus is one of them. I've been rewatching the Robin Hood with Russell Crowe as well. That was
underrated.
Awesome. Yeah. Lord of the Rings. I can't actually remember his name now. I can't remember his name. God damn it.
Sorry, who? Peter Jackson?
Yeah, Peter Jackson. Lord of the Rings. I can't remember his name.
Which character are you looking at?
I can't remember.
Oh, please help me, because I know Lord of the Rings quite well. No!
Yeah, I know.
Which character?
It has
What
to be
film?
done,
What
yeah.
scene? What chapter?
I'll
know it.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I can't remember stuff. It's not Legolas. It's
Gimli.
no.
Aragorn.
Might be
Boromir.
Might be Aragorn.
Aragorn.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, Aragorn. Yeah.
How the fuck do you forget about Aragorn?
It's
Shame.
Shame.
How the?
It's a bit like the way he structured it. So.
I forgive me, but like, this man forgot Aragorn's name.
Yeah.
That is justification for me to fuck up the sound system. Sorry, carry on.
But no. So from that sort of time period, of films, the male leads are strong, stoic. They are openly emotional, or not, or willing to sort of talk about what they're feeling.
Yeah.
But also they're capable, which is so that this is one character being written in 4 dimensions, which I almost think you need to go back to, because the minute you got people like you kind of almost stick to 2 dimensions where it's just strong and capable.
Yeah, it's true.
But in what they fail at doing is like strong, capable, but emotionally sort of don't know how to do anything else.
Yeah.
Which
you could say that with any main character nowadays as well.
Yeah, they don't seem to the complexities of older characters, which is like, it's a shame, because you'd think in this current culture you'd be able to sort of write something like that, but they can't do it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, there are you have the beautiful blue moons where you go watch a movie or a TV show. There are TV shows where I sit down and just go, I really appreciate what they're trying to convey with the culture of emotion. I've noticed there's a few products this year that I've seen that have been doing, in my opinion, very good commentary on the victim complex, which is unfortunately coming to light in many people's lives as well, being a very real thing with mental health and self-care. I did appreciate that. But going back to this, because films specifically have a finite story to tell. So we have a very small window of time to care for these characters, to care for this world. The audience is sitting down to watch this product and thinking, why should I invest my time in this character? Why?
Yeah.
Give me a good reason. And we'll use our case studies. We got John Wick, because he's a man that has suffered.
Yeah.
Look, it's very sad. He's lost his wife. He's lost his dog. The man just wants to quit. He just wants to sit down and be peaceful. So you are rooting for him to get out no matter what. Come on, John, you can do it. We'll go Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots just wants to live, but he doesn't know how. You're like, come on, Puss, get over your anxieties. You can do this. I believe in you. And then you take... what other ones did we talk about? Let's take 4, for example. We did speak about 4 as well. Just like 4 needs to realise that despite the fact that he is a god, there are struggles that a god has to face, responsibilities, family as well. Come on, 4, you can become a better hero, save the day, realise the true power within you. But then sometimes it just falls short because they don't care. So when you're trying to make money, you're focusing on the bits that you think an audience will appreciate, which is bigger budget, bigger set design, bigger CGI, and what else?
I always think that like our society is very materialistic these days. Like we sort of worship fast cars and fancy hotels and fancy restaurants and all that other stuff. And I almost think like the studios kind of just reflect what people are doing, sort of thing. And I don't know. I don't think the importance of.
I see. That's one way of looking at it. Materialistic is one way. How about it's the things that we want?
Yeah.
A film for me is something that I believe. Well, not creating a film. I believe I can create a film, and hopefully one day I will.
Long-term plans.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Short film. What?
Coming to a film near you.
Yeah.
Me time the movie. Can you imagine that? Oh, it's just me and you on a screen like, hi, line.
Origin story.
Yeah. Origins. Oh no, we don't want to fucking talk about my origin story.
Yeah.
Shit, I lost my point. Okay. A film. It's immersive for me, as particularly because what I see on screen could be relatively to near impossible in reality. It is deliberately done in a way for you to escape and see like sometimes a what could be or an impossible fictional world. Like this is something that new that you don't know about. It is supposed to be the like look, not necessarily to aspire, but something just almost like materialistic.
Yeah.
You know, just like this would be cool, and it would be a blatant lie if it would be for children if they didn't look up to characters. I've been there as a teacher. The amount of love that Marvel got, like I want to be a superhero one day, or I want to tell stories one day. I want to be an action hero. This, that, and the other. Materialism. Like realistically, we're not going to put on a Spider-Man mask and jump from building to building. No. I mean, I give me a Spider-Man powers. Of course, I would do that. But is that going to happen? No. But it is. So it is giving the audience something just like, there you go. This is lovely, isn't it? You know? But the confusion is that it's all we want.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
I mean, don't get me wrong, probably my statement wasn't as given as much context. Like, of course you want like a nice set and a nice sort of a nice set and nice sort of special effects. Of course you do. It's kind of if the story is asking you for it.
Of course, yeah.
Of course you want that sort of give it justice. It's kind of knowing that balance between is the set and the VFX having a effect on the story or not, sort of thing.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Let's. I'm going to be brave here, and I'm going to talk about Venom.
Oh, interesting. That's the take.
So let's take a creature like a symbiote that needs budget. It does need the money because it is the symbiotic alien entity from out of space that merges with someone and emerges to become this brand new creature. So CGI is needed for that, I believe, for you to pull it off. You do have, you take Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi, you've got the Venom costume, but CGI was still needed to show the symbiote infect and possess Eddie Brock. If there is a stop motion or special effect way of doing that without CGI, I would love to see it because that would be awesome. But let's face it, some things need a little bit of help with animation and CGI. So Venom, the first movie in particular, was quite shocking to see a really comic accurate Venom be portrayed, and for the CGI big slot symbiotic fight to come in as well, with the whole scenes of the limbs just regenerating after being broken, and the symbiotic weapons coming out as well. The potential of symbiotes was represented in that movie. The story wasn't fantastic. It was an introduction to what could be for this character, the Venom that you all have wanted this time. And I watched it and I thought, this is good. This could be a good series of stories, because at the end, one of my favourite villains of Marvel, Carnage, was foreshadowed for the sequel, and I went ballistic. I have been begging since Spider-Man 3, like to the above, that I have wanted a live-action Carnage, because the character is sadistic. He is villainous, vile, monstrous, disgustingly brutal. He is the most terrifying symbiote because Cletus Cassidy is a psycho. He unalized people for pleasure and experimentation, for fantasy, the thrill of it. He is an irredeemable, psychotic, antagonistic force. To have this monstrous design on screen, I was like, CGI is going to do this justice.
Yeah. I mean, Woody Harrelson could have gone further. I mean, I say that the writer could have gone further, and then Woody Harrelson could have gone further, sort of thing, because you know he can do.
Venom, Let There Be Carnage came out on the same year as Spider-Man No Way Home. Sony looked at that movie, Venom's movie, in my opinion, they only looked at that movie as a extra advert for No Way Home.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Actually, yeah, it's fair.
Because the post-credit scene had absolutely nothing to do with Venom 3 and the original Venom 2.
Yeah.
When the post-credits of normal Marvel movies, take, for example, the Avengers, you got Thanos. Avengers Age of Ultron, suddenly, Thanos walks in and he's just like, fine, I'll do it myself. It related to another movie connected to that.
Yeah.
But then, as we later found out, Sony wanted to do their own thing. So when the story of Venom 2 was absolutely garbage, all of this symbiotic slop in the CGI, making Venom a comedy character, the only focus was clearly put in the soundtrack as well into the fight scenes. And words can't even look. We've had dozens and dozens of podcasts and YouTubers and critics analyse and give their 2 pence on Venom 2. So I won't bore you with my opinion on that. But what I will bore you with is that being a prime example of when a sequel is just for money. Because I saw the big advert before Venom 2 being stay until the end. Like, okay, shouldn't you be saying Venom 2 is good because of these scenes in the movie? Are you almost saying, like, basically ignore an hour and a half of money for 30 seconds? Huh?
Stay for advert, please.
The advert, I will say, the CGI of Carnage was fine.
I mean, it didn't pick up from the original Venom CGI. It just
it didn't.
Let's turn Venom red. What's that?
Yeah, look. Carnage has got dark, black veins scribbled all over his body, vicious, snarling teeth sneering outwards in inhuman ways. It almost looks like it's writhing and tearing off of Cletus's own flesh with the tentacles out of its body. The thing about Carnage, which is Carnage's only weakness, is yes, the movie did say it, Carnage is not symbiotic. Carnage refers to itself as an individual, not we are Carnage, I am Carnage. Because Cletus made the Carnage symbiote its own psycho.
Yeah.
And that's where it became dangerous. The only kill in that movie that made me like recoil almost in horror was when Carnage stuck his tongue down a guard's throat and suffocated the guard on its own tongue.
I remember that, yeah.
I thought, wow, if this is the Carnage we're going to get this movie, this is going to be fantastic. We didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't get that. He unalived people nearly as much as Venom did. And it just didn't feel like Carnage. And I know a true Carnage, we wouldn't get with a 12A rating. We would get it with a 15 or an 18. I think we should have just got that.
That's what the studio should have been involved, or producer, whatever, should have been involved and kind of went through it.
But it wasn't, because it was a No Way Home advert.
Yeah.
In the post-credits, Venom was transported to the MCU, which blew everyone's mind and said, oh my gosh, the Sony universe is part of the MCU. But no, it was only because Sony wanted to advertise it because Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield was in No Way Home. They wanted it to be like, look, all of the universes are coming together. you're welcome. And No Way Home was a bloody treat. I loved that film.
Yeah.
But then you take Venom 3, which we went to go see, and Venom coming into the MCU meant absolutely nothing. The symbiote being left behind at the end of No Way Home is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And Venom coming suddenly back into his own universe and then being put up against Eldritch God Null.
Yeah.
And nothing happening. And loads of symbiotes being introduced because of a CGI fight. No names but designs only. And no backstory was put into it. The story was Venom has got to sacrifice himself to save Eddie. That was it. The rest of the story was just absolutely nothing. It was just him tagging along with a random family in a camper van, like pissing himself in Las Vegas and dancing in, like with Mrs. Chan in the luxury VIP suite. The movie was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was just, and the post-credits scene really identified that as well. We want Venom, loads of symbiote designs of animals. And I'm just scratching my head in the credits and like, did the only thing that you care about in the movie be CGI?
Yeah.
Was money your only interest from this?
I kind of feel like Gladiators, to just jump on that point, forgetting the character for a minute, but like the set design where they were sort of CGI for the sake of it. There's a scene in Gladiator 2 where they fill the gladiatorium with water. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's any sort of historical precedent for that to even happen in real. Yeah, I don't think there is. But anyway, they fill it with water, and they basically have warships inside the gladiatorium, and they fight. And there's also sharks in the gladiatorium.
What?
Yeah. They're going, huh? So you've raised...
Sharks?
Yeah. So that they raise the stakes in such a way that you're going...
Oh, come on, the Romans were clever, but they weren't that clever.
Yeah, you can't... They're going... They sort of raise the stakes again. Look, big battle scene. They're going... Yeah, it doesn't make sense though. And what's even worse is that the character... You don't feel like the character's at risk. Like with the original Gladiator, you kind of feel like Maximus is at risk in every single fight.
Struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle.
With, I don't remember his name, but anyway, the main character in this film, like you don't feel he's at any sort of risk at all. And like even when the stakes are built up to that sort of magnitude, they're going with no reason at all. They kind of going. It's a film with a gladiator title? Yay. No.
Basically. No. When you slap a name on a movie and say it's to do with this, let's take a look at the Disney recreations as well. Let's take a product that was already done and make a live action version of it. Use the same title with this movie, but this live action movie tries to do different things to the same plot, and they wonder why the audiences get angry.
Yeah,
because you're taking the thing that they loved originally, this solo movie that did so well because it was a solo story, and you're reimagining it. There's nothing wrong with a reimagination, in my opinion. A reboot or taking an old movie and recreating it into a new one. There's nothing wrong with it.
I almost felt the reimagination side of that live actions is sort of a lie. From what I can work out from the films, not that I've seen very many of the reboots, but when I have seen them, you compare them to the original animated and you compare it to live action, they're going, you're not the same. Like for some reason, there's this sort of on ones that I've seen. There's this sort of reasons to turn the film dark because it's live action, but also because they're doing so poorly, they sort of miss out main characters in the plot from the original films,
Yeah.
and then also they don't respect the original film's lore. So they're going, is this even a reimagining, or is it just a live action film with a title?
Yeah.
This
No, I get that.
is that. What are you aiming for here? Except for a paycheck. I mean, we know we go for a paycheck, but you know.
Look, and this is what we'll touch on in the next episode as well. The curse of money directing product for the mass public. We all got to eat. We all got to drink. We all got to pay our taxes. We all got to live. So
Do we
yeah.
have to?
Well, yeah. I don't know the word. But a movie should be more than just that. It shouldn't just be gonna take the paycheck and leave. It should be spirit, and that's what I used to love about cinema. It was an experience from a vision of a woman or a man that had a story to tell, and if they fell in love with the characters, if an audience fell in love with the characters and there was scope for continuation, they would turn around and go, look, brilliant, I'm going to offer you more.
Well, it's funny, there's an interesting thing that pops in my head. Sort of like in older sort of, before we even watched the film, there's that sort of, it probably isn't even a voice as such, but I just remember vaguely that so it'll come up on screen. It's like, oh, and you're on the edge of your seat. You're there going, I remember that. But for films these days, you're kind of sitting on your seat and just watching a film for the sake of watching it. There's no stakes, it feels like, or no sort of investment into characters. You're there going, I'm in my seat because I paid for my seat, and then I'm going to watch a film because they want to pay for their paycheck. Is that?
For me, cinema is a different version, if not a theatre. If you sit in a theatre with your phone on, scrolling through your gallery, going on social media, maybe picking up the phone, talking to your friends, and having a laugh and throwing popcorn, you would be thrown out on the spot. A theatre, when you're trying to watch actors and actresses perform...
Minecraft, what?
Eh?
Minecraft.
Oh, yeah. But you'd be thrown out on the spot and you'd be banned and you would not be welcome back to that theatre. Yeah. Minecraft is an anomaly in that, weirdly.
Yeah.
But a cinema, the amount of times that I have been in the theatre with you, the cinema with you to differentiate that analysis, where someone has been in front of us on their phone, rolling over the seats, talking out loud, jumping up and down, being annoying, and they don't get kicked out. I'm not saying they should. I'm not being a Mr. Scrooge here. Humbug, get out of the cinema. But I'm like, it's not a commentary on how far cinema has come. It's a commentary on the product in itself. It isn't the experience that used to be the movie to now like movie,
Yeah, that's fair. Actually,
which is kind of a foreshadowing of the next episode.
No, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. I just thought pain in the arse. God damn, you say it again. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because like you're not really hooked on the movies so much very often. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's like occasional ones that you go and watch and you go, that was a decent movie. Thunderbolts, for example, was surprisingly really, really good.
Yeah. But this is something I really want to touch on in the next one.
Yeah.
In episode 16. I feel myself getting really passionate about this sort of like thing now. But just we'll come back to sequels.
Yeah.
As well. But I feel like we've covered a lot of ground with them as well. And we've said a lot of our two cents pence on as well. The important thing is if the original director has a carefully imagined sequel and wants to bring it to life, then go for it. But if it's driven by money and suspected demographic, and statistics, then should a sequel be made? Should it?
I'll probably even go as far as say sort of like if you're going to produce a film, I mean, you may have sequels planned. Again, I'd still project sort of Chad's ideals and the fact that your first movie's got to stand strong before you even look about going for a sequel. Like, if your first movie sucks, why are you going for a sequel?
I think that was also the thing that I respected ever so slightly about Transformers The Last Night. When that movie was garbage, they set up a sequel at the end of the film. And I'm thinking, we're going to get another one of these bad movies. They cancelled it. They cancelled the sequel. They pulled the plug. They could have paid Michael Bay billions of pounds to create that sequel to finish the story. The story remains unfinished. There's no sequel, and it is extremely unlikely that it's going to happen. We're never going to get a Transformers 6.
Well,
and I kind of like that. Hasbro has confirmed that they're not making any more movies. If anything, I want a Transformers 1 sequel. That's what I want. Yeah, I want a Transformers 1 sequel.
I've heard talks of
G.I. Joe.
Megan Fox and whatnot. What's his name?
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, and who's the other? And Mark Wahlberg.
No.
Back to do
No.
film.
No. Oh God, no.
Yeah. No.
Oh God.
Yeah, for the nostalgia. What am I
Nostalgia is a great thing for sequels. Let's not dodge past that. You're going back after many. Take Avatar 2 as well. For me, Avatar 2 was pure nostalgia. I'm back in the world of Pandora after a decade of waiting, and the sequel was very long. It was very slow. A lot of setup, but the nostalgia was great. Like, oh my gosh, after all this time, new characters, old characters, big world, like I did, setting up a new story. Fantastic. The CGI was so worth it. And there was a lot of care given into the story. That nostalgia that I felt from, well, it probably was longer than a decade actually, because Avatar came out in 2007, didn't it?
I was young when I watched it.
It came out in 2007, and then the sequel came out in 2021, didn't it? Gosh! Yeah, that was longer than a decade between original and sequel. But there you go. Nostalgia works there.
Yeah.
And Avatar 2 is one of the biggest blockbuster movies of all time with the amount of the amount of money that it made. So it works. Nostalgia is imperative fuel. It can be confused though.
Yeah.
It really can be confused with budget. Like, let's throw this character in or this element of a story that they like in for it to be wasted because it's a cash grab.
Yeah.
And it's happened many times.
Yeah.
And I could get into so many movies with that. But the one that's on my mind is well, for me, Venom. Well, I'll say two. Transformers being Grimlock, being advertised in all of the trailers, and he only appears for like 10 minutes, and he's not important, and he's wasted. And then Venom 3, he was set up in Venom 2 that Toxin, the son of Carnage, was going to be in that movie.
Oh yeah.
And I was so hooked because Toxin is a very obscure symbiote in the comics. And I really wanted to see what live action could do. And he wasn't in the movie.
I forgot about that.
He wasn't in the movie. He was this green symbiote, apparently called Lasher. And then Lasher was only there for exposition. And then when he went to fight the Xenophage, instantly got unalived. And like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was just a waste of time, wasn't it? Not nostalgia, just... And you don't want to waste the audience's time. I feel as though studios underestimate how clever an audience actually is.
Yeah.
And it's... Sequels should be a reward for patience, for the fans, for new fans as well, of the characters in the world that you love. A build of that. It shouldn't just be nostalgia, fan service, money grab, CGI fuel, which is unfortunately what we get nowadays. I'm not saying that's the norm. I'm saying we get more of that stuff now. So, in those scenarios, should a solo film continue, or should it stay as it was?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good place to end it, isn't it?
No, I think so.
If you think so.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 15. That was a very interesting conversation. Very full circle, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's quite rare for us.
Mm.
But thus ends part 2 of this agenda, where we will conclude it next week with episode 16, titled The Future of Cinema and Streaming as well. We want to get into the nitty-gritties of where the audience is going to go next, and where best it be placed for new stories and new content and immersion. And then we'll announce the new agenda and all.
Yeah.
And as always, love you, leave you. Plenty of me time to come. Plenty of me time bites to come as well.
Me time bites just came out there.
Me time bites fresh off the bat. Expect more of them. And again, thank you so much for the love that me time has received over the last week. It is phenomenal. Again, thank you.
My Sunday morning was very bizarre. I usually sort of watch the sort of viewership counts and sort of like Saturday and Sunday, just out of curiosity. It's like, oh, these are right, yeah. Right. Wait till Sunday morning, I was like, bloody yeah, what's going on here? But yeah, no, it was good Sunday morning to wake up to, not gonna lie.
You guys rock.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Have we got ideas coming down the works? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll be stalled enough time, so I think we'll just end the episode now.
Yeah. See you soon.
See you soon in the next one, eh?